doing this because I love you. Adventure Comics 304, starring Super Hombre. I don't even remember how we start the show. What do we normally do?
We just do like we're looking at. I do it. I just say this is Adventure Comics 304. It's the one where Lightning Lad dies. You like to go into a little more depth and say the artist and the writer and shit like that. I don't really care about that stuff, so I don't usually say it. Usually, like you have it written down or something, right? Like, or you pull it up on the website. And we were going to start doing. One time, we had the idea to do the guessing game of who the creative team was on this.
Oh, I would never do well at that. And today we're looking at Adventure Comics 304, which came out in November of 1962 with a cover date of January of 63. And it was written by Jerry Siegel and drawn by John Forte. Joe Lettery's doing the letters.
Inked by John Forte? John Fort?
John Fort.
I bet 90% of people say John Forte.
It is Fort, though. I know for a fact it's Fort. I'm a fool. Shame me to the world.
So stupid.
Because
you call yourself an expert.
Would it have to have one of those high comma things for it to be Forte?
I guess so. Like, does it have that? Like when you're reading music, does it have the little circumflex or whatever?
Which is cooler, though. I mean, Fort is kind of a strong last name, but Forte kind of makes it sound like you're an expert.
Right. It means expert. It means loud, or it means it's not loud. I guess in music you play it louder, but it means like. Drawn a blank. I can never think of the words I want to say anymore.
I don't know what it strictly means in music, but people are always, it's like that's my specialty, right?
Yeah, that's my forte. But like in music, you got pianissimo, you got piano, mezzo forte, you got forte, and you got fortissimo. Forte is the loud one.
Okay.
Oh, you got two Fs. I don't know what that's fortissimo maybe. Two Fs is the loudest, but F, that's forte, that's loud.
Fascinating.
So to have that as your name, it's kind of cool. Like, yeah, I'm like, you hear me, I speak my mind.
Does that mean his ancestors were musicians?
I doubt it.
I mean, was that their trade?
I don't know. Should we start over? We'll keep on going.
Yeah, fuck it. It'll only get worse.
Yeah,
let's
more complicated.
Just degenerates. So this is kind of a key Legion issue because this is the issue where Lightning Lad dies. The first death of a Legionnaire. And some would say this is a temporary gimmick, and others say this is the last we ever see him, depending on which continuity you subscribe to.
Yeah, some people might think that it's not really him. That's what you mean, right?
Right.
But like on the last page, they really say, we're going to bring this guy back.
But they lied. He never came back. Never.
Yeah.
Chameleon Boy's house pet had sex with his girlfriend.
Knocked her up with twins.
I guess they might not have been an item yet.
Yeah, I don't think they are. Like, that was in my notes. Like, I don't think they were in love with one another.
He's just kind of a douchebag at this point.
Yeah, there's no Legionnaire romances at all, except for the unrequited one, probably between Triplicate Girl and Superboy. Maybe, but I don't even know about that one.
Well, Brainiac 5 asked Supergirl to be his girl, but I don't know that she reciprocated at that point. I guess that's right. I can't think of anyone else.
I like the splash page on this one where the tyrant Saturn Girl is screaming at Cosmic Boy and telling him that she's going to, or that he's grounded for 90 days or whatever, because he says he'll lift up the headquarters with his powers, but he won't drop it like she wants him to do. And then the perspective is all kind of nuts on this splash page.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this issue. A lot of kind of wonky proportions.
I think that's like a hallmark of John Fort art in the Legion comics. I went back and I looked at some other John Fort stuff, like he was doing some shit for Atlas, like horror or mystery or whatever that stuff was. It looked totally normal. Like, there was none of this stuff where it looks like they're the wrong size or they're not standing on the same horizon, all that stuff, you know?
It has to be a challenging gig to tell these stories that were only like half a book, 12, 13 pages. You've got like at least a dozen characters you're trying to cram into every shot. Yeah, it's no wonder Kurt Swan hated doing it. It was a lot of work. I guess there's a lot of Legion artists or DC artists who they would just, this was like the worst gig to have to a lot of them. I mean, that changes later when you got, I mean, this is before there were guys like George Perez who really enjoyed putting everything in there. And these guys are the more books they can do, the better, because they're just trying to make a living.
Yeah, like having to know a bunch of different costumes and hairstyles and on and on.
Right.
One specific person like a Superman and then a bunch of nobodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be the way to do it.
And then it's in the future, which you would think would be liberating, but it seems like a lot of artists feel like it's harder because you have to come up with all this stuff instead of just dropping in stock buildings and cars.
I mean, not that like, for example, the Legion headquarters is any it didn't take a huge brain to come up with that.
Right.
Or even like, for example, this little hover car that she's on, it's like a flying saucer, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's other things. There's like crazy beasts and things that
right.
that John Forte kind of excels at.
Well, yeah, and you can tell even here, like they dodge that stuff as much as possible. Like apparently their headquarters is in the middle of a field here instead of Metropolis.
Yeah, it definitely does not look like a future landscape in these panels.
This panel on the bottom was what I was talking about, especially with the weird proportions. This always has stood out to me. Every time I read this book, it's like almost like an eyesore to me. Like Cosmic Boy looks like Colossal Boy.
Yeah, I've been looking at it since I read this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks like, I think what throws me off is that Shrinking Violet is drawn like
So
she's
small?
actually shrunk. Yeah, she looks smaller than everybody else.
Right.
Like the proportions of these three, Chameleon Boy, Bouncing Boy, Saturn Girl over here on the left.
Right.
They're pretty similar to the Cosmic Boy proportions. He kind of has more of an adult body for whatever reason.
Right.
But like their heads are the same size. But then these guys over here are all squeezed. The Shrinking Violet's really little.
And I wondered too if that was part of the like he realized he needed to cram more stuff on the right than he originally intended, and he had to like start drawing them a little smaller to fit them in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure because also he has to fit the Votomatic machine back behind there. Like,
oh yeah, that's true. Because there's all that dialogue, just a ton.
Yeah, it gets really heavy on the right side of the panel, and I think maybe he didn't need to show every Legionnaire at this table. He could have left out those four, but for some reason he decided to draw, 3 Legionnaires on the right, and then on the left 5 Legionnaires, the Votomatic machine, and a huge balloon full of dialogue.
Maybe Mort called him into the office and he'd already drawn it, but the dialogue is covering his Votomatic, and he's like, "You got to redraw this half of the page."
Wouldn't be surprised. He probably would have had him redraw the whole page. It's fucking Mort.
There are panels in the first issue of Uncanny X-Men that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did, where Stan has so much dialogue, he's completely covered the figure. Like there's a panel of Magneto, soliloquizing or whatever, and the balloon has covered his whole figure down to about his knees.
Wait, so you can't see Magneto actually speaking the words?
You just see his legs. Yeah, because Stan crammed so much dialogue in there.
Wow.
It's kind of crazy.
So the story on these first 2 pages is splash page. But then on the second page, Saturn Girl is showing up at Legion headquarters, packing heat.
Presumably returning from target practice, because she's got her holster and ray gun.
Yeah, she's ready for anything. Open carry state.
Right,
I guess.
Right. And here comes some drone-like device.
Yeah, she gets a little message from it and she kills it.
Right.
And I think she also reveals she's headed to the Legion, and leader election is happening in this issue.
She's the only one that shows up on time. I was trying to figure out, is that like kind of a passive aggressive, like probably the first to arrive, like everybody's going to be late, because they're sort of writing her as this kind of, at least at first, it's kind of like a negative stereotype of like a bossy woman. This is what happens when you put a lady in charge.
I I didn't feel like even when in the story, she gets elected leader and becomes a tyrant. They describe her as a tyrant.
Right.
But I never really got like, I didn't feel like it was a sexist type of depiction of her as like a shrew or,
Right.
yeah, some bossy woman type. And it wasn't even that, like, it seemed like some power went to her head. I guess that's probably how you would read it, though.
Right.
But it's so out of character, and you know it's a setup for something else because there's this little bit at the beginning where she gets the message from the space drone.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't tell us what's going on except for to say there's this Zarion the Conqueror.
But that doesn't necessarily immediately reveal that she's doing the right thing. You might think she's in cahoots with him, and he just sent her a message like "kill the Legionnaires today." Or...
That's true. I guess it's because I knew, I already knew that she didn't have any bad intentions, and it didn't even occur to me that she might be a traitor working with this Conqueror character. I don't know what I felt like I think I've just always known the Saturn Girl's a good guy, and that she's not going to betray the Legion. So I guess if I was a kid in the 60s and I bought this off the rack, maybe I could be convinced that maybe Saturn Girl doesn't have the Legion's best interest at heart.
Right.
But she does become, they even describe her as a tyrant.
Right.
She uses her mental powers, ESP powers, to force all the Legionnaires to unanimously elect her the leader in the election.
Right. I guess you're right about being a tyrant as opposed to, I don't know, a shrew or whatever word they used at that time. But DC certainly wasn't shy about those kind of depictions. That kind of stuff was always happening in the Lois Lane comic. But maybe these comics, because they feature Superboy, are aimed at a slightly younger reader. So maybe they don't want to have Superboy spanking Saturn Girl. Or
I just felt like that the way she behaved wasn't like some kind of like woman specific way. Like you could have had, if it wasn't Saturn Girl, you could have had Cosmic Boy show up, do some kind of shenanigans to become the leader, and then turn into an asshole. They review. Is it okay to say?
Yeah, we'll drop a spoiler,
big spoiler across the screen
in post production. Yeah,
she's acting like an asshole because she's trying to protect them, and so one of the boy characters might have done the same thing. I don't know. I don't know if it's like, these men writers are like, we'll have her act like a total bitch. Everybody will hate her. She's such a square. I don't know if that's what they thought.
Well,
who wrote this? Jerry Siegel wrote this one?
This 308, it had to be. I don't know. I mean, she definitely isn't depicted that way, but ultimately, I can't help but wonder if there was a little misdirection maybe on the cover implying that a little. I mean, we have seen Cosmic Boy as a leader. I think she's the first lady leader we see. I
think the reader would know that there's a reason she's behaving this way, but I don't know. Maybe I'm giving too much credit to the 1963 7-year-olds
right
who are looking at this comic. I wonder if they're trying to have her be like a mother figure in this comic book. It turns out that Saturn Girl she's trying to protect them all. She's trying to care for them and save them, but they're showing us
it's a very dysfunctional mother. Then it's like, I'm doing this this is all in your best interest. I'm doing this because I love you.
Well, listen to this.
You suck. You can't use your powers. This is pathetic. Doesn't she call one of them pathetic in here?
She says she's ashamed of them. But no, I feel like a parent wrote this comic, and it's like, well, no, we need to explain to these little kids that sometimes the authority figures do things that upsets them and makes them feel bad, but there's a good reason for doing that.
I guess it is sort of parental in places because she's kind of grounding them, right? Like, no powers for 10 days or
right. Yeah, she even says grounded. I took it like in Top Gun when you got grounded, but comes from the same place, I guess. Like, it's a kid, you're grounded.
Right.
But she takes away their privileges repeatedly. At the same time, she's stealing their superpowers But it's all for a good reason. We find out at the end that she grounded you and took away your TV privileges, but it's just because you are going to be harmed by watching TV.
I'm probably reading too much into it because like some of these panels, like that one on the right side in the circle, reminds me of like Joan Crawford.
Yeah, really, like a really severe
Severe,
kind of yeah. She's about to whip Triplicate Girl with a wire hanger,
right, and put her in the closet.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have this first panel here where they're all kind of strangely joking about how they could cheat with their powers, but they would never do that, to set us up for her immediately cheating with her own powers to sort of suggest or control their minds. Did they kind of abandon that later, or does she do? I only think of her being able to read minds.
Oh, I've never thought about it. I think she
Right.
can like have some kind of persuasive power over people with her
Right.
ESP. But yeah, I guess you're right. It is kind of just like reading minds. But
Right. I like how like appalled Colossal Boy is, that she, like, it's uncouth, or it's trashy or something, that she voted for herself.
yeah, it's pretty tacky, right?
Right.
She broke the tradition.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess in this way they are setting her up to seem like a traitor. I didn't like I must have just skimmed this when I read it this afternoon. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like panel after panel actually where they're
Right.
where it's like first they're so pure that they wouldn't skew the results. She straight up does it with her powers, and she breaks Legion tradition.
I always love it when Mr. Know-It-All, Brainiac 5, gets taken down a peg or made to look like a dummy. And here he's like totally oblivious. He's like, odd, I intended to vote for Cosmic Boy, yet I changed my mind at the last instant. Like, no idea.
Saturn Girl's like front and center in that panel too, with like a knowing look on her face.
Is he 10th level intelligence or
12?
12th level intelligence? My ass.
Instantly, Saturn Girl takes the reins and is telling people what to do. And she's like goes to the treasury. Colossal Boy is the treasurer.
Right.
The treasury is a safe that's right out here in the middle of the room.
At this point, I guess they probably haven't like gone into the RJ brand stuff much yet, or at all. So apparently they are sustaining themselves with rewards.
Yeah, that was a funny line. She's like, has our club received any rewards lately? Like they don't know when they're going to get them, but this is how they fund the whole club.
Kind of typically, your sort of hero type doesn't take rewards usually. No, keep that. Your people need that. But I also like that they're storing them in a 20th century safe.
Well, and the reward, they make it seem like he pulls out this reward, and it's this rainbow piece of metal called Spectrium, supposedly worth $200,000. And they're like, this is a lot of money. Like later on the next page, when she turns the Spectrium into medallions with her picture on it.
And Zarian again, they keep tying him in.
Oh yeah, here. I'll get to that. I want to talk about these guys. But they mentioned what a huge sum $200,000 is and how she squandered it to make these stupid medallions.
To make jewelry.
Our treasury squandered to feed your ego is what I guess it's Lightning Lad says that.
It's silly. It's Archie-ish, or it's this juvenile trollishness, like you all have to wear necklaces with my face on them.
I thought it was hilarious when I first read this.
I love it. I was going to mention we got to get an introduction to Matter Eater Lad. I don't know if it's meant as a refresher but yeah, he's like, I'm Matter Eater Lad, a new member.
So you think this is not his first appearance?
No, it's his second. He first appeared in the issue previous. I checked.
Ah, that's why I couldn't find that issue. It's a key issue.
Yes.
But yeah, in that panel where he introduces himself, in case they forgot, it shows these wanted interplanetary
Rose Gallery, like Space Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, there's some scary looking dudes. Like sure. the chubby guy with the eye patch, and Abe Lincoln, or he's kind of half Lincoln, half like John Brown or something. He looks totally insane.
Well, it's probably just a coincidence, but he does look a lot like Roxas, who shows up pretty soon, like within the next couple issues.
In this panel, Lightning Lad's like, Zarian offered us a fabulous bribe, but we rejected it because we don't take bribes.
Just rewards. We don't take bribes, but it would be nice if you rewarded us.
Right. The reward doesn't influence them at
Right,
all
right,
the
right.
way a bribe would.
Mhm.
You do something good and somebody wants to give you a reward, you
Right,
take it, but it's no further strings are attached
right.
if you're a true-blooded legionnaire. But she takes the spectrium, turns them all into medallions, into their medallion manufacturing machine,
Uh-huh.
which I guess is by the Votomatic and the big safe, and forces them to wear a medallion with her picture on it. And then she is going to test them all. And now we're getting back into typical Legion territory where you get hazed and you get tested just to humiliate and embarrass you, I guess.
It's in keeping, like, in some of the early issues, the Legion, they do really shitty things to each other, which might seem of its time, but to me makes a lot of sense. The silly, it's like very juvenile, shitty things they do to each other, these hazing like things and these pranks, and sometimes they're quite callous to one another, and it kind of reads as of its time and dated, maybe poorly written. But to me, it works perfectly because teenagers are shits, and they they pull shit like this on one another all the time. So this massive ego thing where she's making them all wear the medallions with her face seems perfect to me. It seems like something a bratty girl in a teen drama would do.
Kinda.
I mean, it's silly. It's silly, but like you could see that happening on like the Patty Duke show or something.
Right. I mean, it's a little incongruous when you think about the characterization of Saturn Girl up to right now,
Right.
where she's kind of serious and she's like she's bossy, but she's also like authoritative and like has it together or something. You know, like she's showing up early for the meetings and shit like that, and then she's gonna do this this thing that's completely like egocentric and egomaniacal and like make you wear a photograph of her around your neck.
When I was taking my son to his karate class today, I usually wait for him while he's doing his karate, like out in my car, and I was looking at this issue in the showcase, and I had it in the back. He was flipping through it, and that's where he saw the substitutes, and he was kind of asking me who they were and why they were subs. And I was explaining, well, the Legion decided their powers weren't good enough, so they wouldn't allow them to be on the team. And he's like, what? Why are they so mean to them? And I'm like, I thought about it. It's because they're shitty teenagers, because it is kind of shitty, right? Sorry, Polar Boy, your powers aren't good enough. You can't be on the team.
Right. Yeah, we got Mad Raider Lad.
Right. Right. It's like cliques and just being nasty to one another.
They're shitty. I wonder what Jerry Siegel's kind of what his angle on it was, like, or what he was thinking as he wrote these kinds of comics. Like, is he just right there with you? It's like, yeah, this is what a shitty 15-year-old would do, or does he have something different in mind, or what? You know, it's like what's the headspace for the guy thinking up these stories and trying to come up with the actions and the motivations for this psychotic stuff, you know? Is it just that teenagers are assholes, or I don't know, is it something more bonkers than that?
I think, well, like in this example, and quite a lot of examples from this time, even with like those TV shows with the teenagers, it's like misdirection. Like they make them seem like shitty characters, but then you realize they were doing it for a good reason at the end. So they walk it back in that case. So I don't know if...
So it's kind of written from the point of view of like a confused adult. It's like, why? Why are you doing this? Why would you make your friends wear your picture?
Right.
And yeah, her explanation as well. I was trying to protect them from being killed by an interplanetary conqueror.
Right. But then things like with the business they were playing on Superboy in the first appearance, all the pranks, it's like, I think they're just thinking more about plot than what it really says about those characters. They weren't thinking that far along. Like, well, wait, these are kind of awful people. They're making them cry for nothing. And
yeah, it is a plot thing. It's like the plot mechanics says that in Adventure 247, for example, like they come to or these strangers show up in Smallville, and they trick him. Superboy gets confused, and then the writer has to be like, well, what do they do? And he's like, let's have them do the shittiest possible thing. Because that's what I would do as a writer too. I'm like,
Right.
well, how about if they like whatever they pour grease on him, and everyone laughs, and
Right.
it makes him look like he pissed his pants or something like that. Like, yeah, I would do that. That's kind of funny.
Right.
You're right. That's probably what I would do. I'm no Jerry Siegel, that's for sure.
Yeah. DC should hire you though. You're a wealth of ideas. I would read that comic. I would.
If you like that idea, DC, I got a whole
Yeah.
head full of
Yeah.
ideas just like it. Oh, the one other thing I liked about this page, page 4 here, is this. For some reason, Saturn Girl's flying around in this little like UFO looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a period where they don't have flight rings yet.
Right.
They're not wearing flight belts here. So some of them can just fly. Saturn Girl evidently is unable to fly, and she's in this little spaceship thing that has like a Barca lounger seat in it. She looks really comfortable right here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. To sort of accentuate her being this tyrannical figure, like a pharaoh or something, eating grapes.
Yeah, like she's in a really comfortable chair.
Right.
But like the way she has to sit in it in this panel, where she's like really reclined. It's like one of those. Do you remember those? I think I might even had one. I can't remember, but it was back kind of in the days of like the early Nintendo game system.
Mm-hmm.
You could go to like Walmart or wherever, and they sold like a stupid little chair made out of all foam that had arms, but it was real low to the ground, kid size.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember a thing like that?
Yeah, I have one in this room, I think. Well, the thing I have, it kind of folds out into a flat bed, but it folds up into a chair that's very close to the ground.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like something that's for a child to sit and play video games or
right.
sit and watch TV in or something. But
I think they still make things like that now, only they're really expensive. There's like gaming chairs,
right.
Chairs built specifically for spending hours playing video games.
Right, just for rotting away, destroying
yeah,
your
I
poor
think there's like
body.
a little catheter you hook up there.
Uh-huh. It comes with that hat, with
right?
The two things on the side to put your beer in, and a straw that goes to your mouth.
Right. Get the Mountain Dew in.
She should have one of those, Saturn Girl.
Yeah, for sure.
And then in the next panel, she's going to test Ultra Boy first, and she's like, "Yeah, I want you to do this," and he's like, "Yes, leader."
Right, and they're scared shitless to even talk about what a tyrant she is, because remember, she can read minds.
Is she supposed to be like? Is there like a communist angle? Is she supposed to be like Fidel Castro or something?
I don't know. This? She doesn't seem that awesome, but
yeah, she took all her money. No, the yes leader thing. Like it's really kind of a Cold War understanding of like a dictatorial person. It's like this may not be Fidel Castro. It's maybe who the fuck was in charge of Russia. It was just in the air, like in this Cold War period of the 60s. Like that's how Jerry Siegel gets the point across to little kids. Like, this is the type of person that he's talking to. You addressed him as a leader.
Yeah, it could be. Or like you were saying before, like if this is for like young kids, it's like this is the mean parent. That makes sense too. Like the overly strict one.
Next page. Let's turn the page. I'm sick of these two pages.
Right. She orders Ultra Boy to melt down the spaceship. He looks kind of like he's taking a squat as he does it. Takes a lot out of him.
I think she's actually she orders him to melt down the spaceship, and he fails, and she grounds him. So I think she's sort of within her rights to ground him for not doing what he was supposed to do. Like, why would you only melt down half of it?
Well, maybe is he being insolent, or is he doesn't like that she's bossing them all around, so he's deliberately doing a shitty job at it?
I don't think so. I think
Do you think he has to like kind of clench his butt when he's doing it, or
to get Ultravision to work, you mean?
Right. The what's his what does she call it here? The Penetravision. Didn't it become Flash Vision, or is that Mon-El?
You know what? I've heard Ultra Boy use flash, but I think it was also penetravision.
Well, penetravision was when he, like, his X-ray vision.
Yeah, I guess penetravision is the one that can see through stuff, and flash vision can burn shit up, but also like he's melting metal with penetravision.
Right.
They always kind of played fast and loose with this. I said ultravision a minute ago. They actually never ever called it ultravision, I guess.
But they should have. That actually worked really good. I knew they hadn't said that before, but when you said that, I was like, why didn't they think of that?
Yeah, pretty
It's
logical.
too obvious.
Right? Well, all his other powers are ultra
Right.
strength or whatever, right? But penetravision.
Super ventriloquism. Yeah, I think he left the back of that rocket unmelted on purpose.
I don't think he did it out of spite. He must have thought that his mission was to make this rocket not operable anymore.
Right.
So he just melted the front of it or whatever. She's using a technicality. And I think
Right.
that is that. Well, I told you to melt the whole thing. And what you did was melt it into inoperability.
I can't remember. Did she need it melted down for something?
No, she's just testing him. She doesn't give a
part
fuck.
of her plan.
She just needed him to use his powers because somehow, and it's not explained too clearly, somehow the
Right.
medallion allows her to take on each
Right.
Legionnaire's powers when they demonstrate.
Yeah, it's some kind of strange voodoo or something. It has a kind of black magic, like
Yeah, it's the spectrum metal that
Mhm.
that has a rainbow.
right.
All the explanation she gives is right in this panel. She says, "I'm activating the metal's unique properties so
Mhm.
that his amazing power is being duplicated within me."
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like maybe she has some kind of little gizmo to activate it. And what's weird is that throughout this story, there's a bunch of instances where you can tell the writer is putting in details to make sure that there's no questions from the audience about why this happened. It happens all through it, except for right here when it's like the most mystical, nonsensical thing is like, how does she get their powers? You can't tell by reading the text of the comic. He didn't do
Right.
that there. But everywhere else, like when Lightning Lad dies and when, I don't know, when the freeze ray happens and stuff, like they explain that really clearly, really too much.
Like I said, it really seems like it's written like some kind of pseudo black magic. And they're like, well, but this is a future story, so it has to be a science version of that. Because the strange way that they all have her face on the medallions that they all have to wear.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but yeah, I
Right.
kind of see what you're going with that. So maybe she's trying to make them think that, well, no, they don't even know that she's stealing the powers. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, it's weird. But she doesn't even say, I guess she calls out that it's a spectrum medallion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she doesn't say why. At first, it's just metal. It's very valuable and looks like a rainbow. But it also has some kind of power where if you have the right gizmo, you can get somebody else's superpowers.
It's like it's relaying the power to her, beaming it to her, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, she just says she has it now.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the story, they explain that they fade away, the powers.
Yeah, I wonder if that means they don't have them and they just don't know because none of them are disobeying. As soon as she copies their power, then she makes it a point to say, you cannot use your power for the next 20 days.
Oh, you think they lose their power?
They either lose them or if they use them, somehow she will lose them. Like there's
Oh,
some reason why they can't both have them.
Oh, that didn't even occur to me. I thought that she just told them not to use their powers because she didn't want them to get in the way of her plan.
Right.
Saturn Girl's plan, for all the listeners out there, is that she's going to take their powers
and rule the universe.
Yeah, she's a traitor, and she's going to take over the universe with her partner and lover, Zarian the Conqueror. Anyway, this whole page is just her, it's just the examples of her and how she's going to bench all the Legionnaires and take their powers at the same time. The examples here is Ultra Boy and Triplicate Girl. Mm-hmm. Next page, it's kind of a montage, kind of these montages that John Forte's sort of famous for.
The top one I really like, with her stooping down to look at Shrinking Violet and it inversing in the next image with her looking up to Colossal Boy.
Yeah, and it's done in 2 panels, but it's kind of like everything here sort of happens as a montage.
Yeah,
at the same time.
I kind of wish it didn't have panels. They were just on white space, like a Mike Sikowski page. He did a lot of that in the early Justice League issues where they just be standing in white space.
Oh yeah, that would be kind of cool, and that would look good, wouldn't it?
It would.
But yeah, it's kind of these are kind of funny. Where yeah,
Mhm.
Shrinking Violet's way down here and real little, but she hasn't shrunk enough. Colossal Boy, he hasn't gotten big enough.
Mhm.
He's out for 120 days. What is that? 5 months?
I think it's 4.
4 months.
Yes.
It's midnight, whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
And she's commanded Lightning Lad to split a mountain with his lightning powers, and he only does a boulder.
I mean, he's
So-
half-assing it, right?
You're done, Lightning Lad.
I mean, how do you accidentally cut a boulder in half instead of? He's not even aiming at the mountain.
Yeah.
He's just being a wise ass. He's being lazy. He's like, this is a
So-
mountain. This is a mountain to Shrinking Violet.
Well, yeah, and how come Colossal Boy wouldn't get big enough? See, I thought you think they're all half-assing. I thought they all just were failing because they misinterpreted what you wanted or something.
Right.
But you think maybe Colossal Boy could have gotten bigger, but he didn't, and Shrinking Violet definitely could have gotten smaller than this, but she didn't.
No, I mean, I don't think they're all being. I think Colossal Boy probably has limits, right? Most of those growing guys, at some point, it starts to cause some kind of strain on them when they can
Yeah.
only get so big, and then it starts taxing them, or they can't support their own weight.
Yeah, but that should happen like when he's about 11 feet tall, I think.
Jeez, you're such a literalist nerd.
Well, why?
Um,
I say 11 and you say 1,000 before he
yes.
reaches the limits.
No,
there shouldn't be any limits.
There's no reason to. I have no reason to believe that Shrinking Violet and Colossal Boy aren't trying, but Lightning Lad is fucking with her, right? I mean, did she not specify a mountain before? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know. I mean, all of them are kind of like that. Like the rocket one where she's like, I said melt the whole rocket, but actually the truth
Right.
is she didn't say that. He's like,
Right.
oh, she got me a technicality.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. They're not putting in the whole story for us.
Right.
But by the second panel, she has the powers of all the Legionnaires. And there's a lot of them in this issue. Like there's some that are really only in for a panel or something, but like we got all the heavy hitters. Now she has Chameleon Boy, Phantom Girl powers. She has Colossal Boy and Shrinking Violet powers. She has Lightning powers and Sun Boy powers.
Do you think she has
Cosmic Boy
Matter Eater powers?
Yeah, she does.
I would have liked to have seen that test and how he failed it.
Yeah, that would have been funnier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like the rock instead of a mountain thing is kind of
Mhm.
funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, failing Matter Eater Lad would have been funny. Like he couldn't eat something she told him to eat.
He's not eating it fast enough, and he's like overeating and throwing up on himself.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like we have a what do you call it? Like a pre science police here,
Oh yeah, Commander Loring
the worldwide police,
begging the Legion to stop him.
just like a cop. She's working with the cops,
I think it's your jurisdiction, Worldwide Police.
right?
Why don't you stop him?
Are you offering us a reward?
This is where Saturn Girl says she's ashamed of everyone, and then she puts on an anti-gravity suit and leaves them and says how disgraceful they are. She'll have to do everything herself.
Yeah, I wish Chameleon Boy's antennae were drooping more, showing how crestfallen he is.
But she flies off and she's like, if anybody follows me, I'll expel you.
Disgraceful.
Cosmic Boy's like, it's useless to reason with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she got lucky. You would think all these kids would just jump her and kick her ass. Like, you're being an asshole. Throw her in the stockade.
They really respect the authority.
Yeah. Well, maybe she's making them more docile with her power, the same way she made them all vote for her.
Could be, but then why would you need to scream at them?
Maybe she just enjoys that part.
She looks pretty happy in this next panel, though. She's like, everything worked out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I guess they're still playing the possible traitor angle. on this page, which again, I didn't get reading it today. I didn't think about this. I thought, just because I know how this is going to work out, I thought the whole time that she had good intentions, and I never thought that she was going to be a traitor.
Man.
Until, like, there's, I guess, this panel, third panel on this page, Shrinking Violet, puts voice to the idea that Saturn Girl might be a traitor. But that's about the only time that one of the other Legionnaires suggests that in this story, right?
I guess, but I feel like the story has been hinting at that possibility from the beginning.
Yeah,
with the destroying of the evidence, or the what could have been a message from him to her, like she's a
right.
double agent.
As the reader, knowing what we know, yeah, maybe we thought that she was a traitor, but then none of the Legionnaires, even with all this awful behavior, until page 7 out of 11, did anyone say, "Well, is she a traitor?"
They just thought she was on the. Cut that. Not cool.
On the rag.
So we have is that Phantom Girl in the upper right?
Yeah. I think they used to frequently have her be entirely white.
Like when she was in Phantom form, right?
Yeah, but here she's not in Phantom form.
Mm-hmm.
But she's white. Her skin is white in this page.
Right.
And in another adventure we looked at the other day, she was all white too. Lightning Lad's going to defy her orders and go after her. Even though Phantom Girl warns him that she'll be furious if you defy her orders.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't care.
They're really pushovers.
They're really obedient.
They're like, you're going to get in trouble. We're staying right here. Very, very wimpy. Then we have this modular ship assembling itself, which seems like a clever idea, but it's strange because they're all like jagged components.
Yeah, it looks like it's been destroyed. But yeah, he says it's been where are the pieces on different worlds?
Mm-hmm.
So they're billions of miles apart. So they can conveniently form into a complete spaceship.
Clever.
And it looks like all of Zarian's henchmen are just warrior robots.
Right, but they're very piratey. These aren't like emotionless robots. They look like they've been drinking and they're ready.
Yeah, they're throwing their fists in the air. Right. On to Earth, destroy! That's what they say.
So Lightning
like
Lad.
This.
Go ahead.
Oh, I like this panel on page 8 of. I like the body language of Saturn Girl flying beside. Like she's kind of laying on her side, facing him.
I thought she had like her legs wrapped around his shoulder.
Not in this issue.
This wasn't the beginning.
This isn't Prody yet.
Okay.
But Lightning Lad, he says he knows what's going on, and he's going to take her place. And he gets killed by a freeze ray on this page, which is pretty good drawing, I think, where freeze ray hits him, and there's lightning bolts coming out of his fingers. And I guess he's blowed up Zarian's ship, and that takes care of Zarian.
It is a very weird choice, the freeze ray. Like, can you think of anyone ever killed by a freeze ray? I mean, sure, in real life, I'm sure if there was such a thing, it would kill you. But it seems like they must have picked freeze because the idea was he's in suspended animation, I guess. Because he's not even like being encased in ice or...
Yeah, it was just a freeze ray or something that's easily reversible.
There's also that tiny clue at the end saying, is he really dead? You'll have to see in the next couple months.
I know that they didn't use any details from this story in reviving him. They used the weird Daxamite mind transfer lightning rods thing.
Another almost black magic-y thing.
But I kind of feel like maybe the original idea was that they could have figured out a way to undo the freeze ray, or he wasn't actually dead, or this... Like on the next page, they show him like lying in state here, and like maybe this thing is going to revive him or something like that, you know? Because as I learned, Jerry Siegel got the axe, and he did not complete this storyline. Hamilton is the one.
This is the one?
Well, within somewhere between here and when he gets revived.
Right.
Hamilton wrote the final part when he comes back to life.
He started getting uppity about his contributions to Superman again, right?
Yeah, I think the creation of Superboy, I think, is what
Yeah.
finished him.
You can't talk about that stuff at DC.
The real sore spot, this Superboy shit, was with DC.
Yes, yes. The freeze ray thing is just really weird. It's like he's slowly dying, but you think they'd at least make him like blue or something, or make him shivering, or
Yeah, it's strange. Like Saturn Girl's like, I'm gonna take you to the doctor, and he's like, no, I know I'm finished. Just take me to the Legion clubhouse, and don't deny my dying request. And I don't know why he doesn't want to be helped. I guess because he knows he's gonna die. But come on, you're a kid. Maybe they can help you. This is fucking future, dude.
It's too late for me. I'm all frozen on the inside, brittle as glass in there.
But then he explains that he found out what she was doing from Mon-El. And when Saturn Girl hears that name, she's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that guy's a Legionnaire now."
Oh yeah, and I forgot that guy's intangible and just like watching us in the clubhouse all the time.
Watching, and the first thing we see him watching is Saturn Girl bending over. That's all he does. You know, that's all he does. He's like, "Hey, maybe I'll watch Light Last for a while now."
Oh man, he's just checking her out.
What do you think Princess Projector's up to?
She's kind of got junk in the trunk there, you know?
Yeah, what do you think she wears that skirt for? Self-conscious, probably.
That Saturn-sized ass.
Doesn't want anyone to see her rings.
A gas giant.
Is she a gas giant?
Oh boy.
But it turns out the thing in the drone that she blew up right at the beginning wasn't a message from Zarion to her. It was a message from some alien race who decided to communicate with us through drone technology, that he was nearby and it was going to cause trouble. Oh, and they had foreseen with their powers. I don't know how they know. They can see the future and knew a Legionnaire would die.
Did you wonder? I know there's no answer to this, but did you try to think of who conceivably sent that message?
Yeah, was it the High Seer of Naltor sent this?
That's a good answer.
Who did you think?
I had no idea. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, they don't explain it. They just say an alien race, right?
Right.
Written in English.
It's just interesting, the idea of them maybe having some all-knowing benefactor. Like in the Fantastic Four, they have the Watcher who does stuff like this every now and then. Gives them cryptic clues of something horrible that's about to come that they can't directly help them with. But
this is God who sent them this message.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting that God would choose this method to send them a message.
A drone?
Or to send Saturn Girl a message. Like God could have used mental telepathy, her stock in trade, to communicate with her.
Maybe Proteus sent it. Proteus engineering Lightning Lad's death so that he can take his place.
What? I like the idea, but how? How did he do that?
He's
like,
thinks,
this is three-dimensional chess. He's way ahead of me.
Right.
Okay.
He wants to get him out of the way.
You're right. It probably was his idea. But Mon-El sees everything. He knows the whole story. I thought it was strange that Mon-El was, even though he's now a Legionnaire and has been a Legionnaire for 4 issues, he was not invited to vote in this leader election. And at the end of this story, is it the next page even? Yeah, over here, Mon-El is out of the Phantom Zone. They gave him a short-term serum.
I know.
So they could have done that for the Legion election or the leader election, but they didn't do it. He just got left out of it.
Yeah, he's kind of like a reserve member for a while. They let him out for the funeral. They don't let him out to prevent the funeral.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with guys like that. In fact, this is a very rare instance of, I think very rare anyway, one of the very few instances I can think of where the Legion doesn't have Superboy or Supergirl in it at all. Until this last panel, after all the action's done, where they can't come and solve everything for everybody.
Right. Earlier in the issue, she explains that Superboy is on a mission and can't come in the past.
Right.
And Supergirl's in the far future, she says.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool answer for this comic, that she's in the future. Maybe she has friends. Maybe she's on another super team even further ahead. What the hell is she doing in the future?
So Lightning Lad dies on this page right here, page 10 at the top. And he says, better me than you. I don't know why he is so selfless. Why he doesn't really believe that, right? Like better me.
She should have
than
been
you.
like, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That would have been funny. You'd be like, what?
This next panel is strange when he dies and Saturn Girl kind of breaks down. She's like, Lightning Lad is dead. Cosmic Boy says, it was noble of you to try and sacrifice yourself in his place, Saturn Girl, but he felt the same way about you. What does that mean? What feeling did he have about her? Because they weren't in love with each other.
We never find out because he dies here and we never see him again. Damn. Chameleon Boy's crying. What a baby.
They're all crying, huh?
You'd think they'd be glad to get rid of that guy. He's kind of a jerk.
Well, they're like, this tyrant is still the leader. This asshole tyrant.
Good going, fearless leader. Our first casualty.
Yeah. We wouldn't want that to happen under my watch as a leader. Especially like the day after I'm elected leader. Somebody dies instantly.
What do you think about Supergirl bringing Lori Lamaris?
I don't know what to think about that. Why did she do that? What is Lori Lamaris never had anything to do with the Legion.
Not that I can remember, but it wouldn't be... You could see it happening.
Also, what did Lori Lamaris ever have to do with Supergirl? Wasn't she a Superman thing? She was like she like took Superman's virginity or something?
You mean like with a fish though?
Birds do it, bees do it.
She doesn't have a... Does she?
Well, yeah. Where do you think she...
I thought they had
like an ovipositor or something.
What are those
for her
things
eggs
called? Cochleas? Or no, I think that's part of your ear.
That's your ear.
Like they have... Don't they just have like ports that they rub against one another or something?
Oh, a cloaca or whatever. I don't know how to say it. Well, the mermaids are still, they seduce men, human men, and I assume that they...
And Superman's from Krypton. For all we know, he may have like a fish dick.
Probably so. It's probably in the shape of a fish. Probably has long flippers.
I thought that was a red kryptonite issue, but yeah, could be.
But yeah, the thing with Supergirl and Lori Lamaris showing up didn't make any sense to me.
I think she's made a cameo before, but like a one panel thing.
Yeah. Well, they even try to explain it. Like Cosmic Boy's like, hey, there's Supergirl, and she brought Lori Lamaris with her. And then there's a thought balloon from Lori, and she says, when I read Supergirl's mind and learned of Lightning Lad's death, I urged her to bring me here too. So I guess maybe the idea is that even back in the 20th century, Lori Lamaris knows of the heroism of Lightning Lad and wants to attend his memorial in the future, even though she's 1,000 years removed, probably has never heard of this guy. She needs to be underwater.
And she's from Superman. She's from Superman and Supergirl's time.
Right.
So if she read Superman's mind, she'd know he's all right because he was still a boy when he was brought back to life.
Oh, right. Yeah. She's just trying to be nice, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe to support Supergirl, who's her best friend.
Yeah, they were tight.
But they put Lightning Lad in this see-through coffin with electric bolts powered by a perpetual motion device.
Well, is that another reference to... Was Stalin in glass?
A lot of those big high up people get... I don't know if they stay permanently or if it's just for their for the week after they die, so everyone can get a good look at them. Some of those people are permanently on display, aren't they?
Yeah.
Gross.
I can't imagine how do they upkeep that? Because they have visitors coming in, just mummified, I guess. You think
they can't be, right? They can't.
They touch it up every now and then.
Like they change out put in some fresh air or something in there.
They gotta like restore them every now and then. Start cracking all over, turn brown, put some makeup on there.
There's no way. They're like wax figures or something like that, right?
They kind of end up like wax, I think.
No, they would look like a mummy, wouldn't they? Like fucking Boris Karloff mummy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't know.
Are you looking it up now?
Yeah, I don't remember. Whoa. I think it's linen, dude. Yep. Oh my god, this is fucked. This is fucked. This is fucked. Look,
It looks fucked.
he was mummified. He died in 1924.
Oh, he looks
He
horrible.
was embalmed, put under glass, and stuck out on display. Under the Soviet Union, the government paid for ongoing preservation. But now he's kept fresh by private donations. Wow.
Here's like a Getty images where somebody's like putting blotting makeup on him. But yeah, I guess they're keeping Lightning Lad alive, Lenin style. I guess in this scenario, Saturn Girl is Stalin. Lightning Lad, defiant to the end, is Lenin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We cracked it.
Cracked the Iron Curtain.
But see, Stalin, he didn't outlive Lenin, did he? Yeah, he did. Yeah, he lived into World War II, didn't he? And beyond. I don't know when he fucking died. 60s.
I don't know.
I don't know when he died. Didn't they have some Russian Revolution? That was him. He did the Russian Revolution. Or Lenin did.
Is that the one where they stormed all the castles and killed all the rich people?
I think so. I think that
I
was...
like that. I like
No,
that
was a French Revolution.
Oh. I thought the Russians did that.
I think they did. Yeah,
I think that's the inevitable conclusion to all capitalist systems.
Well, when are they going to do that here? I say they. I should be part of it, but it's not going to be. That's the problem, is because nobody's going to man up and do it.
Got to do it before they have robot armies to protect them.
I bet they already have them.
Well, they've got people they pay, but presumably those people would get tired of watching their families starve and side with them. A robot wouldn't.
Yeah, they're gonna have those Boston Dynamics dogs that march, trample you to death.
It's gonna be like the Terminator, man.
Yeah.
Skynet is rich people.
We have one page left of this comic.
We can do it. I think in the next 45 minutes or so, we have a good chance of traversing these 5 panels.
My notes say this is the best page in the comic.
What?
It's basically like it's just a funeral and memorial for Lightning Lad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I liked the half-mast flags of all the different planets. And I liked the giant
ghost waving to all the aliens.
Yeah, waving to the aliens. And the aliens look really cool. Like
they do.
They have these little spikes on their backs, and they're dark green.
They're dark green?
They're blue. I can't tell whether it's blue or green. They're really small.
Yeah, they look like they have blue heads and purple bodysuits. What do you think about all these onlookers at the funeral? You have like Dave Berg in the front there.
Yeah, Dave Berg, and he's got some like garter belt design pants or something on.
Yeah, I guess it could maybe be future clothes. I mean, probably well-designed future clothes.
Oh, yeah. Well, it has this funky collar that's not like anything on in the present.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Some of the better sci-fi features I've seen, they make the clothes look kind of like today's clothes, but just a little bit off instead of like guessing something totally ridiculous that doesn't pan out.
I think they should do that other part, the second one, and guess something ridiculous.
Right.
Future clothes.
Sure.
The Legionnaires are coming out of a big crypt. It doesn't really say. It's on Earth. So Lightning Lad's buried on Earth in the crypt.
Oh, they haven't set up Shanghala?
I guess not. But I'm curious where the crypt is. Is it part of the Legion headquarters complex, or is it just like whatever the big cemetery in Metropolis or what? But it's open to the public. All these strangers are right by the opening or the exit door. Mm-hmm. And there's these 2 ladies who are dressed real nice, gossiping about what Saturn Girl must be thinking about. Mm-hmm. And also explaining to us that all the Legionnaire powers have worn off, in case we were wondering, whether she still has all their powers or not. These two ladies
Mhm.
explain to us that they've worn off. It says so in People magazine.
Is this the issue where they swear they'll find a way to bring him back?
No, this little scroll, this ancient parchment scroll, suggests that the super science of the future might be able to restore him.
I'm just thinking maybe that's why Lad's ghost was fucking with them, because they like made no effort to revive him. Like, well, I guess he's gone.
Yeah, you could have restored me, guys. But they didn't have his body even, did they?
I guess he was incinerated or something.
Or melted?
Very anticlimactically, in a way, because it was just like in one panel he like just disappears off panel and poof, he's gone. They were just out of space, I guess, but it wasn't very dramatic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was dramatic, but it wasn't drawn very dramatically.
Well, that's death for you.
Yeah, I guess it was true to life.
So, as a final gesture, the Legionnaires place a statue of Lightning Lad in their clubhouse. The first Legionnaire to perish in action. But he didn't perish in action. He perished in adventure.
We need a sound machine here.
What do you call that? If it was about 3 hours earlier, I would remember what you call that. A rim shot.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it is. I wanted to quickly look at a couple things really super fast.
Okay.
Go all the way to the beginning.
Okay.
Real fast.
There's no rush. It's fine. There's no need to be embarrassed that you forgot to talk about it when we were on page 1.
No, I mean all the way to the beginning.
Oh, in the Superboy comic?
Right.
All right.
First of all, this is awesome. 4 comics for 47 cents, all Silver Age cool comics. That would be cool to have.
I like even the little label at the top would be great.
Oh yeah.
I wonder what the coloring was on those. Oh, and the display. Are you going to mention how awesome it would be to have this display in your house right now?
Yeah. It's got pegboard. It's really old fashioned.
Even the little header thing would look really awesome.
I wonder, maybe there's some complete ones out there, unopened.
Oh, yeah, probably, but they're probably thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So long, Superboy, don't come back. It's a great line.
Uh-huh. You suppose that's where they got it for the Charlie Brown thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown.
We have a precursor to, what's that guy? Snyder, the Snyderverse guy.
From One Day at a Time?
No, that's the cool Snyder. The other one, the guy who did Man of Steel.
Okay.
There's like this controversial scene in it where it makes no sense, where Kevin Costner is like, don't use your powers to go save your dog from the tornado. Someone might notice in the middle of this tornado.
Oh, so but it's to save him. It's not the dog, right?
Kevin Costner goes to get the dog because he doesn't want the kid to use the powers. I think. But anyway, but then the kid does not use the powers. You're right. And just
somehow Kevin Costner saves the dog, but sacrifices himself and won't let his son save him from the tornado.
Right. Like everybody's like, Superman would never do that. Why would he do that? Of course, even if it meant blowing his cover, he would do that to save his father, of course. But here we've got, but it's not. It's really Superboy. I guess more Superboy being a dick here because, like, the gears are grinding or something's seriously wrong with this automobile on page 2.
Oh.
Like they're saying, I don't like the sound of those gears. Shall I check them? They're like, we don't have time. And then they're really worried about it. And he's like, the car sounds worse. And Superboy's like, hey, I'd fix it for you, but I don't want that auto mechanic to start wondering how we could repair the car ourselves. He might start suspecting things. So he just flies off and leaves them to keep driving this dangerous car. And then sure enough, on page 3, they go off. They
drive off the bridge.
It's like, it's those gears that our son would not bother to fix. Pretty awesome. What a douche.
Yeah, what a lazy teenager.
I know.
Like he could have punched his feet through the floor and ran it like Fred Flintstone style, and no one would have noticed.
Page 4 is a little weird. You've got a grown man and a boy in a bed together, but I guess they're the same guy, so.
Oh, that is weird.
You would think it'd cause some sort of space-time paradox for them to be in the same bed at the same time. In fact, they say something like that on page 5. It's contrary to science that you and I can coexist in the same time and place. So he tells them they need to flip a coin to decide who gets to stay and who has to banish themselves to some other galaxy. But when they're flipping the coin, Superman accidentally melts it and says, "Oops, I meant to use my X-ray vision, but I accidentally melted it." But it came out heads. You have to go to space forever.
Wait, what? You
Well,
melted the coin out of existence.
He melted it because he knew it would land and say he had to go to space. So he melted it and said...
He's trying to fix the thing, but I'm like, I'm trying to figure out the reasoning. He says, I was so anxious to see the outcome, I tried to peek.
Right.
But accidentally melted it. But I'll tell you how it came out.
Right.
Not in your favor. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, sorry, buddy.
Well, Superboy's like, at least he's not rolling over. He's like, why would I take your word for it?
Well, right. And then they start getting into a major brawl on page 6 until their parents come in which he's, Dad, tell Superman to stop picking on me. They decide that Ma and Pa can't have to decide which one of them has to be banished to space forever. But before they decide, Superman, as an anniversary gift, gives them a temporary superpower potion, which they both completely fall in love with, because now they can lift pianos and toss them at each other, and they have all these powers. Superboy, wanting to know what their decision might be in a very Mort Weisinger way, has constructed this device that reads their dreams and projects them onto a wall, and sees that they're both dreaming about having these fabulous superpowers. So he knows that they want Superman, not Superboy.
He's like, it's better this way.
And they're mumbling. They're like, mumble, mumble, bullets bouncing off me, mumble, lifting buildings, mumble. We have a brief interlude where we see how bad a violin player Lana Lang is. So bad that she shatters glass, which plays an important role in the end of the story. So Superman constructs a ship for him to leave. And on page 10, you can see he built him a time bubble.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Wait, what happens with Crypto here?
Oh, Crypto.
He's like, I've got to say goodbye forever.
Right.
He's leaving behind Crypto to be with fucking Superman.
And the parents, they're like, well, we hate to see you go, but...
Superman's like, goodbyes are painful. Let's get this over with.
Right. right. I'm going to put you in this bubble and throw you to a solar system with a red sun.
Whoa.
Like, why does it need to be somewhere with a red sun? Just to be extra dickish about it?
Can't come back.
Right. Then we see Pa Kent trying to get rid of Crypto here. Here, Crypto, take this bone and go enjoy it somewhere. But then before they can try the potion, he knocks the potion out of his hand, and we realize that he can't really be Superman, because a piece of glass from his glasses fell out of his cape. And Superman's glasses are supposed to be indestructible, but they were shattered by Lana Lang's bad playing. Then we find out, of course, as we often do, this is yet another person who knew Jor-El on Krypton, a criminal impersonator that they banished in a flying saucer because they hadn't developed the Phantom Zone yet. And he escaped and he's impersonating Superman. Superboy shows up and banishes him to the Phantom Zone, and we find out that Pa Kent, having figured out that he was a fake, in some inexplicable way, he tipped Superboy off by putting a Superboy figurine inside of Crypto's dog bone, so that When Crypto's eating it and he smashes the bone open, he sees the figurine in there and knows that he must get it to his master, who then in turn knows this means he needs to come back and save the day. Not sure how that works. Not sure how that works. It's a fun enough story with plenty of absurd bits. And I love the ad on the bottom because these are all actually really good comics. Got the infamous Ant Superman.
I like this format of ads.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I kind of wish they still made comics like this. What do we have? Like Old Man Jimmy Olsen, and I actually have this Superman Ant action figure. It's pretty cool.
Oh, there's an action figure?
Well, it's a Silver Age Superman, so it looks like Kurt Swan Superman. But he has interchangeable heads, and he's got the ant head, and then he's got the big brain.
Wow, that's
yeah,
awesome.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I mean, this is another like Weisinger kind of story where it just comes from like it's evolved from whatever day-to-day experience that a kid would have. Like, what if Superboy got pushed around by his big brother, you know? And it's like kind of grew out of that.
I just think, and I'm probably reading too much into it, but there's all these weird idiosyncratic characteristics to the comics, these Superman comics he edited. I think it would be so fascinating to kind of reverse engineer like what his personality was like and how much his personality mirrors some of these weird things he puts into his comics. Like I've kind of joked with you before, like maybe he has like models in his basement that look like the house he grew up in and like all the little figurines of all the people he's known.
Just the fact that all the stories about him are about how he's insecure and he's a bully.
Yeah.
Like that just feeds into like the hazing type of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
That we always talk about.
Oh, I can't go without mentioning this plot for a Superboy comic. In this great story, Super Baby teams up with Baby Lana Lang, Baby Lex Luthor, and Baby Pete Ross to fight the Al Capone gang. Baby Lex Luthor, even.
Wow. Teaming up with his mortal enemy.
I know.
Against the common foe, Al Capone.
Does that mean that would have timed out right? Probably.
Do you think Baby Lex Luthor is still bald? He must be, huh?
I think the other thing other than the letter column, I thought you would appreciate the touchdown for Picasso.
I did appreciate that. I liked that comic.
It seemed like some right up your alley.
I didn't even read the Superboy comic, but I did read that.
Beethoven concert. Are you crazy? That's for sissies, not for a real football player like I'm gonna be.
Yeah, this shitty jock child thinks that jocks don't like the finer things in life or the sophisticated things in life because they're for sissies. And then he finds out that his famous jock role model is a sissy by his standards who's into painting.
I'm not a sissy. I'm rich. And rich people like sophisticated things like classical music, abstract painting.
I don't like this abstract painting.
Yeah, I could do that. It's
like a kid could do that. Your son could paint these things. Your son could do a fucking Beethoven symphony. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. Come on.
Doesn't even have any words. Yeah, it's ridiculous. The guy's just waving a stick around. Yeah. What's he doing? Last but not least, we have to get to the small mail sack, which I think has a lot of really interesting letters.
That's for another video, though. But those comics were all from Adventure Comics 304.
Make sure to tune in for the mail sack because there's a lot of firsts in there.
Good missives. Don't miss these missives.
Enough said.
Excelsior.